Hi. So, welcome to the fourth module in the series of medical affairs. Here in this module, very briefly, we will talk about the patient centricity, how the focus of medical communication with the HCPs has changed from being drug focused to the patient focused. So, we will first talk about the need and how the shift has happened, what it used to be like before, and how it has changed, how it has made the Department of Medical Affairs all the more very relevant. And then we will talk about the role of the MSLs. So, to start with, historically, as we know, the entire focus was on the drug. Once the pharma company used to finalize to work on the drug product and get the approvals, they used to market it directly to the HCPs. Nowhere in the drug cycle was the patient involved, per se. So, in a way, patient's role was largely passive as the recipient of the drug without uh, getting involved into the process. So, in a way, the disease was treated, but the person as a whole was not considered earlier. So now the patient has come at the center of all the decisions. How? So now the drug should not just be uh, developed keeping in mind the disease, but the person as a whole, right? So the pharma company has to also work on the questions that what are the other challenges which the patient is dealing with related to the drug. So even if the drug is very effective, efficacy wise, if it is too good, however, if dosage regime is a little difficult for the patient, even this fact needs to be taken into account. So now the first need is to understand the patient needs. The first step is to and then build the design trials around the patients. So the outcome will be a meaningful drug. So now the patient has become an active participant in the drug cycle. So first thing would be to understand the patient journey from diagnosis to daily life. The company the solution provider in this case needs to be aware of all the aspects that the disease is affecting. Then how can we do this? This can only be done by engaging more with the patients. So we have patient advocacy groups wherein the MSLs, we will learn in the later slides that MSL would have FGDs with these advocacy groups to gain insights. And then basis these insights, the drug development is taken ahead. So why has it become so important to stay competitive in the market? The patient centricity needs to be factored in. The patient himself has become more aware through internet and through the various online resources. Then the regulatory authorities expect you to develop your drugs around patient uh, uh, patients' welfare. And then see, earlier it was not very easy to get insights from the patients on the multiple aspects of the drugs. But now it has become possible. The technology has allowed us, and we can get those insights from the of the patient's experience, not not the direct experience, I mean, not just the drug efficacy, but the experience outside the clinical trials. So, in a way, now we are able to gather the real world evidence. And thus the role of the team medical affairs. Why it is very important? Because the it being a scientific department, the entire exchange of information is more ethical and more scientific without any commercial bias. And certainly the training which is given to the medical affairs department is to focus on building long-term relationships. Again, as we have already discussed in the previous modules also, the medical affairs department is the link between the HCPs and the pharmaceutical company. Likewise, it is the link between the pharmaceutical company and the patient. And within the medical affairs department, again, it is the MSL who will gather insights on the patient journey from the KOLs and then from the patients directly. So, if they are interacting with patient advocacy groups, therein they will be able to understand community needs in a better way. They will also be able to support educational initiatives. So, again, it is a two-way exchange of information that is happening between the MSL and the patient advocacy groups. Basis these insights, the information will be conveyed to the clinical trial team, right? And also the MSL or the medical affairs department will support the creation of patient-facing material, the educational material. It would be made more meaningful with the involvement of the MSL, the medical affairs, the scientific department. So, what would be the result? A win-win for both the patients and pharma. Patients, certainly, if a drug is taking into account other parameters also other than the efficacy, then certainly it will be beneficial for the patient. And in a long run, whatever is beneficial to the patient will build a trust, a relationship of trust between the patient and the pharma company, resulting in better outcomes for the pharma. So again, the same thing. What is the apart from other than the scientific acumen, an MSL needs to be empathetic. He needs to have advanced communication skills when it comes to communicating with KOL. The discussion, the conversation needs to be scientific and data based. And when it comes to communicating with the patient, he needs to be more empathetic. He needs to be able to customize his conversation in a way, customize the conversation for the patient, right? And then basis all the insights which he has got from the KOL as well as from the patient, he has to help his internal team of clinical drug trials, right? And strategizing the clinical trials. And so he also needs to be able to work in great collaborations with uh, different teams within the pharma. So earlier the focus was on the molecule. Now it is a mission. Patient centricity is the shift from a drug focused to a patient partnered model. Medical affairs, as we saw, is the ideal leader. MSLs are the key champions, and ultimate goal is to develop better medicines. So that's all. Now, in the last module, which may also be the next module, which may also be the last module of the series, we will talk about, medical science liaison. We had already covered in the last module of the second playlist. So now maybe some how digitization has changed the role And in the same module, I will also include a few slides on the role of a medical affairs team director. So, yeah, that's about it. Take care. Bye bye.